Myths are all around us, but as you expand your knowledge, you'll become more adept at spotting them. Split personality is one of the most severe forms of schizophrenia. False. Schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder are separate mental health conditions with different symptoms and diagnostic criteria. Schizophrenia is characterized by symptoms such as delusions, hallucinations, and disorganized thinking, which involve a disconnection from reality. In contrast, DID involves the presence of two or more distinct identities or personality states within a single individual. The term split personality is often incorrectly associated with schizophrenia. This misconception likely stems from the word schizo, which means split, but in the context of schizophrenia, it refers to a split from reality, not a split in personality. While there may be some overlapping symptoms such as delusions, the nature of these symptoms differs significantly between the two disorders. DID involves identity fragmentation, whereas schizophrenia involves a broader spectrum of psychotic symptoms. We experience stress when good as well as bad things happen to us. True. Stress is the body's way of responding to any kind of demand or threat. When you perceive a challenge, your body produces stress hormones that trigger a fight or flight response, preparing you to deal with the situation. Stress can be categorized into two types: eustress and distress. Eustress is positive stress that can motivate and energize you, such as the excitement before a wedding or starting a new job. Distress, on the other hand, is negative stress that can cause anxiety and concern, such as financial problems or health issues. Both positive and negative events can trigger similar physiological responses in the body. This includes the release of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, which prepare the body to respond to the perceived challenge or change. Any significant life change, whether perceived as positive or negative, requires adaptation. This need for adaptation can create stress as the individual adjusts to new circumstances. If you want a person to continue performing some action consistently, you should reward the action on a consistent basis. False. This misconception can be clarified through the principles of behaviorism, particularly operant conditioning, and the example of slot machines. In operant conditioning, a key concept is reinforcement, which can be delivered on different schedules. A fixed reinforcement schedule provides rewards consistently after a set number of responses or a fixed time interval. However, research has shown that variable reinforcement schedules, where rewards are given after an unpredictable number of responses or time intervals, are more effective in maintaining behavior over the long term. Variable reinforcement schedules create a high level of behavioral persistence because the unpredictability of the reward keeps individuals engaged. This is because the anticipation of a possible reward can be more motivating than knowing exactly when the reward will come. Slot machines are a classic example of variable ratio reinforcement, where players receive payouts after an unpredictable number of plays. This unpredictability makes slot machines highly addictive, as players are motivated to continue playing in the hope of receiving a reward, even if it doesn't come consistently. Women use both hemispheres, halves of their brain, to listen, and men tend to use only one, so women must be overall better listeners than men. False. While some studies suggest that women may have more interconnected hemispheres, this does not directly translate to superior listening skills. The idea that women use both hemispheres for listening and men use only one is an oversimplification. Brain function is complex, and listening involves multiple brain regions and processes that are not strictly divided by hemisphere. A massive study synthesizing research on brain differences between men and women found that the differences are minimal. This suggests that any variations in hemisphere usage are not significant enough to account for a marked difference in listening abilities. While gender brain differences exist, they should be interpreted with caution. The differences do not necessarily imply superiority in specific cognitive tasks like listening. Women may recover better from strokes due to differences in brain activity and structure. The interconnectedness of women's brain hemispheres might contribute to more effective recovery processes, as both hemispheres can potentially compensate for damage more readily. Playing classical music, such as Mozart or Bach, for a young infant will result in an increase in his or her IQ. False. The concept of the Mozart effect originated from a 1993 study that found college students temporarily improved their spatial reasoning skills after listening to Mozart. However, this effect was short-lived, lasting only about 15 minutes, and did not involve infants or measure overall IQ. Subsequent research has failed to replicate these findings consistently, particularly in infants. Studies have shown no significant long-term impact of listening to classical music on the cognitive abilities or IQ of young children. The initial findings were widely publicized and misinterpreted, leading to the belief that classical music could make children smarter. This led to initiatives like providing classical music CDs to newborns, despite the lack of scientific evidence supporting such claims. While some studies suggest that listening to music might temporarily enhance certain types of cognitive performance, these effects are not specific to classical music and do not translate into long-term IQ improvements. This theory gained traction in the 1990s but has since been largely debunked by scientific research. Despite the initial excitement, further studies have shown that the benefits of the Mozart effect are not as significant as once believed. It's through this process of inquiry that we grow, learn, and evolve. Each question we ask, each assumption we challenge, brings us one step closer to greater understanding.